Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, an outline of the entrustment and other chapters. In this letter, Nichiren uncovers the very definition of Gohonzon. It is in the apparition of the treasure tower chapter of that Shakyamuni describes, visualizes the very act of realizing one's enlightenment or Buddha mind. That is the Gohonzon, in case you're wondering. From the mundane gathering of all those in contemplation arises the exalted insight of unfathomable rewards, the tower of treasures, the treasure tower. The insight of total and complete understanding and experience held high and unsurpassed. This is Tendai's insights from his Concentration and Insight, his many writings on this. From this vantage point, all the worlds of Jambudvipa arrive as one to witness this vast universal insight. With all Buddhas in attendance, this treasure tower holds dominion over all perception, and the rewards of the process, the engine of life, the Myoho. Right? We talked about Myoho, potential instantiation. We're talking about being witness to the formations. Not just cataloging the instantiations, but realizing, being a part with, they're actually coming to be. Life happening. This visualization is identified by Nichiren as the actual act, the renge, the witnessing, the observation, the participation with, the being in time, yes? Of awakening and manifesting the Buddha mind. And he labels it the Gohonzon, the most exalted goal, aim, objective of practice. Training the mind. And as if to make this act indelible in the mind of ordinary human beings, he transcribes the amazing vision into a calligraphic form to serve as a reflection of the act to be instantiated in our minds. This is Nichiren's mandala. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your practice. Thank you for doing exactly as Nichiren prescribes here. And we're going to read about it in Nichiren's words right after I thank you for being here once again, for all your support in these several years that I've been doing this since 1995, but in the last few years it's grown, this compendium of resources to help, what do we say in Gongyo? In the transmission of Shakyamuni's teachings correctly, to absorb Nichiren's insights and doctrine of those teachings, amongst a tremendous amount of misinformation in the world for agendas of ego and so on and so forth. Our humble channel here, with all of its videos and podcasts created from them, so you can listen to them wherever, whenever. The website, threefoldlotus.com, so much free information to download there, read. The bookstore, the ebooks now on threefoldlotus.com, making it even easier to get these teachings into your hands. The mandala store, the Gohonzon store, if you will. It's funny to say that, knowing what Gohonzon actually is. Can't really sell it, can you? It's you right now. Simply needs to be enlivened, awakened. Yeah? All right, let's get into Nichiren. I've received your offering of 7,000 coins. The essence of the entrustment chapter of the Lotus Sutra, the Myoho Renge-kyo, is as follows. Rising from his seat in the treasure tower, the Buddha stood in open space, and in order to transfer the Myoho Renge-kyo, patted no fewer than 3 times the heads of Bodhisattva superior practices and his followers, Manjushri and his followers, the great Brahma, Shakra, the deities of the sun and moon, the 4 heavenly kings, the dragon kings, the 10 demon daughters, and others. In other words, as I've often said, the ceremony in the sky, the story of the Lotus Sutra teachings is about disseminating this knowledge, this awakening, this method of awakening to every mental capacity. This huge crowd defined in the early chapters of the Lotus Sutra is, again, Buddhism is about the mind, yes? It's about indicating all these different levels of understanding, no matter where you come from mentally, experientially, culturally. This now is the method about to be disclosed. This is a visualization we should all cherish when we are seated at our butsuddons in the presence of our mandalas. Right? We seldom consider that we're enacting the very teachings of the Lotus. Right? Don't forget. Remind yourself as you approach your butsudan, your altar, and you open it and you turn the lights on it so that you can see clearly your mandala, and you light incense, right? You water the flowers or whatever you have there, some life form that you maintain. Dust the altar, keep it respectful, keep it, it's a brilliant ceremony. You're enacting the very stories of the Sutra of the Lotus. You are performing that ceremony. How amazing is that? And that when you sit respectfully in front of the treasure tower, which remember is a mirror, so you are enacting the treasure tower. Through your core is Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. You are that mandala. You become that mandala. Because then, in the words of Shakyamuni Buddha himself, you are invoking Buddha-ness just as he did. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, the entirety of the sutra coursing through you as you begin the Daimoku. What an amazing circle of energy between you and the butsudan, the mandala, the teachings, right back into you to feed Gohonzon, this enlightenment, this treasure tower of experience, of knowledge, of witnessing. They had clustered before the Buddha as thickly as dewdrops, crowding 410,000 million nayutas of worlds like the grasses of Musashino Plain or the trees covering Mount Fuji. They knelt close to one another, bent their bodies so that their heads touched the ground, joined their palms together, and streamed sweat. That level of dedication, we're going to instantiate Buddha-ness. Shakyamuni Buddha patted their heads just as a mother strokes the hair of her only child. This is it. This is the moment. Then superior practices, The deities of the sun and moon and the others received the Buddha's auspicious command and pledged to propagate the Lotus Sutra in the latter age. Not only are we going to awaken our Gohonzon, our Buddha mind, but in doing it, we are pledging that we're not just doing this as a fashionable thing to do in this moment. We're going to carry this forward. This must be propagated. Others must come to this treasure tower. All of humanity, all sentient minds. The fate of the planet rests on this invocation. As for the Medicine King chapter, we're going to jump to that now. In the past, a bodhisattva called Gladly Seen learned the Lotus Sutra from the Buddha Sun Moon Pure Bright Virtue. So he's talking about bodhisattva activities now. And the Medicine King is one of those who was touched by this teaching, this enlightenment potential. So deeply moved was he by this favor received from his teacher and by the loftiness of the sutra that he exhausted all his precious treasures and offerings. None of this means that everything is about living this truth, knowing this truth, being in this truth. All of this history, this attachment to things, it's just been in the way. Here, let me offer it to Gohonzon, to this enlightenment, in whatever way it can support, propagate. Still unsatisfied, he anointed himself with oil and burned his body as an offering to the Buddha for a period of 1,200 years, just as today we burn oil by inserting a wick and lighting it. Then, in his next lifetime, he made torches of his arms and burned them for 72,000 years as an offering to the Lotus Sutra. This is a well-known and widespread tale. Skillful means teaching, often misinterpreted as real, throughout China and into Vietnam and other countries, used to justify self-immolation, which we know is the exact opposite of Buddhahood and Buddha-ness. The symbolism of burning one's body is that the pleasures of the flesh, of being in a human body, pale in comparison to the potential of the mind. That the enlightenment of the mind is life itself. Life is not to be found in the organs of the body or the desires that those organs pursue. It's all well and good to have that. We need that in order to instantiate a mind. But never should we allow that mind to take second place to the pleasures of the body, the necessities, the desires, the mechanisms of the physical world. Yes, they're important. Of course they're important. Without them, we wouldn't have the sentient mind. Of course. The point is the burning, the illustrative similes and these devices of learning are about putting respect in its proper place. Where does dignity lie? In the size of one's arm? Does dignity lie in one's sexual prowess? In how much one can eat? In what someone eats? No, those are all well and good as far as samsaric entertainments and existence goes. But enlightenment, perceiving the engine of life, living life to the full in each and every moment, that is the proposition. That is what we are here for. All of the other, the body, the desires, the being in the physical world and accruing possessions, that's all a very base of existence to enable Gohonzon, to enable this mind to perceive the reality of the universe. Right? It's not a denial. See, this is the misinterpretation. People, oh, we burn the body because the body doesn't matter. The body matters. But it does not take precedence over the mind. The mind rules all. So if you really want to appreciate your bodily existence, which I've compared to the existence of the universe itself, then be cognizant of it. Be mindful of it. Put it in its proper place. It is an amazing thing, this physical world, universe, body, all of it. But it is an amazing thing because you can perceive it, witness it. Because it supports your ability to do so. The mind is where all value is, treasure tower. That's what the Medicine King is, all those stories about Medicine King are about. But it's been misused, misinterpreted. Right? When we see monks burning themselves in the street as though it's this great act. It's not. It's a very diluted act. It's a political act. That's what it is. It's not Buddhist. It's extremely political. But what is politic but a samsaric device? That monk has forgotten or was never instructed. You can burn your body every day in your mind as you locate Buddhahood, Gohonzon. You don't need to do it physically. That's like a child building sandcastles. They're pretty while they live, and when the waves come in and destroy them, that's pretty too. The actions, the contemplation, the visualization in the mind, that's what is precious, not the thing. Nor is letting go of the thing precious, because the thing was never precious to begin with. It's a means to an end, the end being enlightenment. Do you see? So if a woman makes offerings to the Lotus Sutra, to Myoho Renge-kyo, as we do when we sit in front of our Butsudan and chant, we are making offerings, yes? We are offering up our mind's attention. Now in the last 500-year period, this bodhisattva's benefits will all be bequeathed to her without exception, just as a wealthy man transfers his entire fortune to his only son. So this is a story of lineage, of propagation, of commitment that transfers to one's closest, right? Minds. The Wonderful Sound chapter tells of a bodhisattva called Wonderful Sound who dwells in the land of the Buddha of Pure Flower constellation, King Wisdom in the East. If you've ever read any of the Sanskrit translations of this stuff, you've seen naming structures like that go on for seeming like a paragraph. The Sanskrit language is more about singing conceptual parameters to identify some concept, some idea. So their names are a bunch of words strung together to be a name. It's a fascinating aspect of language early on, very pictorial. And it's no mistake that we chant, which is a rooted word in the word singing. We are embodying what comes out of our mouth. Namo Myoho Renge-kyo, yes, Buddhahood. Do you see how all of this works? In the past, in the age of the Buddha Cloud Thunder Sound King, he was Lady Pure Virtue, the consort of King Wonderful Adornment. Sex becomes very fluid here, right? Male, female, it doesn't matter because the mind has no sex. At that time, Lady Pure Virtue made offerings to the Lotus Sutra and was reborn as Bodhisattva Wonderful Sound. Don't let the misogyny go unnoticed here. Remember, in thousands of years, only men could achieve Buddha-ness. And Nichiren expounds on Shakyamuni's words. These are Shakyamuni's words, not Nichiren's. But Nichiren reminds us, here's this wonderful Bodhisattva Lady Pure Virtue. She makes offerings to Myoho Renge Kyo, and she's reborn, right, moment to moment. In the next moment, she is Bodhisattva Wonderful Sound, male. When the Thus Come One Shakyamuni expounded the Lotus Sutra in the Saha world, our world of physical form, this Bodhisattva came to attend the ceremony and pledged to protect those women who would embrace the Lotus Sutra in the latter age. Because enlightenment has no sex. Because women are just as capable, have the same mind that men do. There's no distinction. Ultimately, all those distinctions are samsaric attachments. The Perceiver of the World's Sound chapter, another chapter of the Lotus Sutra, also called the Universal Gateway chapter. The first part describes the merit of those who put resolve in the Bodhisattva Perceiver of the World's Sounds, hence the title Perceiver of the World's Sounds chapter. The latter part expounds the merit of those who embrace the Lotus Sutra, the Myoho Renge Kyo, the teachings of the Universal Gateway, renamed by Nichiren the Gohonzon, which the Bodhisattva upholds, hence the title Universal Gateway. What are we doing? Okay. Then another chapter from the Lotus Sutra, the Dharani chapter, describes how the two sages, the two heavenly deities, and the 10 demon daughters will protect the votary of the Myoho Renge Kyo. The two sages are Medicine King and Brave Donor. This is the idea, and this can, be careful here, because being Western, trained in our Western cultures, it's easy to see Medicine King and Brave Donor as selflessness. But that's not a Buddhist concept. When in Buddhism we talk about no self, we're not talking about selflessness. We're not talking about immolation. This is the same lesson that gets misinterpreted in the burning of the flesh or giving away, right? That being enlightened is more important than the body. It's more important than the body in its devices to exist, in its attachments and its desires. Enlightenment is in the mind, not in the body. But never seek your doorway, your universal gateway to this enlightenment outside of your body. Why? Because the body, and this is what these burning people should know, this body is a necessary physical instantiation of energies in order to manifest that mind of Gohonzon. Without the mind, there is no Buddha-ness. Buddha-ness being an aspect of perception that only happens in a sentient mind. The process we witness, the process goes on with or without perception. It's just the process. Buddha-ness is our ability to witness it, to be in it, to commit within it, to live it. That's our precious opportunity. And it only exists through this apparatus: body, earth, universe. This is the whole thing about the Butsudan. It contains and protects and edifies this potential witnessing. The two sages are Medicine King and Brave Donor, and the two heavenly deities are Vaishravana and Upholder of the Nation. The 10 demon daughters are the 10 major female demons, the mothers of all demons of the 4 continents. Moreover, these 10 demon daughters have a mother, who is called the mother of demon children. Why demons? Don't think Western. These are our desires, our sensual sentience, our sensual experience of life, which is bodily. It is the nature of demons to feed on human beings. Our desires feed on our existence, samsara. Human beings are formed of the 36 elements: excrement, urine, saliva, flesh, body, blood, skin, bone, the 5 solid internal organs, the 6 empty internal organs, the hair of the head, the hair of the body, energy, life, and so forth. Calls out energy right there. Demons of inferior capacity feed upon excrement and the like. Demons of intermediary capacity eat bones and similar parts, while demons of superior capacity live on human vitality. As demons of superior capacity, the 10 demon daughters subsist on human vitality. They are the powerful demons who bring about epidemics. It's talking about the energy of human being. If your human being is focused on the physical, then you're in the lower realms, aren't you? You are in the sensual pleasures of the body. And so your enlightenment is totally ignored. This is why it's called demon. This is why it's called obstacle. Not because it's bad in itself, but because our attachment to all of that obfuscates our brilliant, enlightened mind. Always this battle that wages and rages inside our minds. It's not a self and other. It's a self and self. There are 2 kinds of demons, good and evil, negative influence. Good demons feed upon enemies of Myoho Renge Kyo. What energizes you to chant? While evil, negative influence demons feed upon the sutra's votaries. Boredom, doubt, burnout. How should we interpret the great epidemics that have spread throughout Japan, both this year and the last? From one viewpoint, they are the work of good demons who are devouring enemies of the Myoho Renge Kyo, the Lotus Sutra, with the approval of Brahma, Chakra, and the deities of the sun and moon and the 4 heavenly kings, right? The forces of the universe, which we like to refer to as others. Here they are personified. Yet from another view, they are the work of evil demons who are feeding upon the practitioners of the Myoho Renge Kyo, the Lotus Sutra, at the urging of the devil king of the 6th heaven, right? Dairaku Tenno Mao. The leader of our avarice, our greed, our sensual pleasures. Always distracting us. Good demons devouring enemies of the Lotus Sutra are like government soldiers punishing enemies of the ruler, but evil demons eating votaries of the Lotus Sutra are like robbers and night thieves murdering government soldiers. For example, when Buddhism was brought to Japan, the chief minister Mononobe no Moriya and others who opposed it were struck down by epidemics, but the great minister Soga no Umako and others who espoused Buddhism also fell ill. 3 successive emperors, Kimei, Bidatsu, and Yomei, believed in Buddhism and thus the thus come one Shakyamuni in their hearts, but outwardly honored the sun goddess and the Kumano shrines, abiding by the traditional rites of the nation. Samsara. They put the body of the nation, body of self, body of the citizenry, and the mountains and the land ahead of their mental enlightenment, ahead of that insight of aha, renge. Because their resolve in the Buddha and his teachings was weak, while their resolve in the deities was strong, these 3 rulers were pulled by the stronger influence and succumbed to the smallpox epidemic. In light of these examples, and we're almost done here. Yeah, we'll finish on this paragraph. Although one of you asked me recently, I don't get this request much, that I should make my videos longer, my podcasts longer. And I have for years now been somewhere between about 45 minutes to an hour. And I've asked the question before, do you guys tire of it? None of you really was negative about it, but I feared maybe I was too long-winded, and I want you to get the full lesson, right? The full discussion. So I've been endeavoring in the last few months to stick closer to a half hour, but chime in the comments. Let me know what you think, okay? I'll continue here. In light of these examples, you should ponder the 2 kinds of demons mentioned above, as well as the reasons why epidemics spread among the people of the world today, and why some among my followers also fall ill and perish. Look at the world today. Really, this sounds like, we forget we're reading about medieval Japan, and it's important to understand the context of that. But look at the wars raging all over the world. There are many. And I'm not going to sit here and assign blame on who started them and what their agendas are. That's a samsaric concern. And believe me, I do think about it all the time. But just look at the condition from 10,000 feet. COVID, which is not over. There's a very wonderful young lady who does science, physics lesson that's on YouTube that I've been watching for a few years. And she's dangerously ill right now because of long COVID. Whether you believe in COVID or not isn't the issue. We have had an epidemic that's taken millions of lives in the last couple of years. You can't deny that. You can, but you're just being silly, stupid. Look at the world. Look at Ukraine. Look at Yemen. The media doesn't even talk about Yemen anymore. It's horrible what's going on there. All over power, religion, ego, money. It's disgusting. The evil that is in the world today. And some of you, my friends, are living in regions either in the midst of it or close to it. Impending auspices going on in the Asiatic region. You know who you are. I don't need to tell you. I'm just pointing out that we live in a day of tremendous pain, anxiety, fear, stress. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. It's all I can do to keep from. I don't want to focus on that. I don't. In the grand scheme of enlightenment, I don't want to say it's unimportant. It's significant. But if anything, it should be directing us to stronger daimoku. The propagation of this enlightenment, this method for enlightenment, it must expand if it's going to have the hope of influencing those negative energies out there that are simply unaware of their own avarice and stupidity. It has to change. It must change. Or not only will Buddhism perish, there will be no one to practice it. As I've said before, Buddhism is an activity of the sentient mind. If there are no sentient minds, then there ain't no Buddhism, period. There ain't no enlightenment, period. With that kind of ichinen, appreciate every daimoku you are able to utter. It follows on that one hand that those who, on the one hand, that those who commit their lives for the sake of resolve will not fall ill, or that even if they should fall ill, they will recover. On the other hand, if they encounter great evil, demons, as we've labeled them, negative influences, doubt, they may be deprived of their lives. They might then be likened to Hatakeyama Shigetara, who was finally destroyed by the sheer number of his enemies, though he was the most powerful in Japan. All the true word teachers in Japan have turned into evil spirits and evil or negative influences. They're rampant throughout the country, inciting the Zen and Nembutsu monks to oppose Nichiren. On the other hand, the followers, the good demons, of Brahma, Shakra, the deities of the sun and moon, and the 10 demon daughters have also swarmed into Japan, each side battling fiercely to dominate over the other. This story could be of our world today. I want you to consider these things with it every time you approach your Butsudan and Daimoku, and understand that you're not just chanting for you. Of course you are, but you're also every Daimoku radiating into your environment, the world at large, your neighbors, your family, your friends, people you don't know. We are all part of the same energy, instantiating every moment. How will we create the next moment? How will we create the next moment? How do I take this amazing, wondrous being into the future? That requires, if I'm going to take this enlightenment into the future, that the environment supports it. Bodhisattva. We have a lot of words for this kind of thinking, but it really comes down to cause and effect. It's immediate. It's happening moment to moment. As I make a cause for enlightenment, so do I create the effect to support it. In my own mind, free myself from doubt and the things that keep me from my enlightened state. And those things are not solely in your mind, but in your environment. It is your mirror. You want to know how you're doing? Look at your environment. You see anything there that might drive you back to chanting? Is everything in your life beatific? Congratulations, if it is. All the more reason to keep practicing. Keep it that way. Right? Because that Aukutena Mao's are giving you the side eye. Yeah. That's the nature, the necessary nature of our commitment, to always remember, always remember. It's like being a grown-up. We did a lot of foolish things when we were children. we were ignorant. We didn't know. We didn't understand consequence. As we got older, we understood, oh, I wouldn't mind doing it. Oh, that looks like fun. But we stop ourselves immediately because we think, yeah, but that's so stupid, right? The survival rate of doing that, pretty low. Gosh, I can't believe it. I shouldn't be thinking about, right? We edit ourselves. We train our minds to grow up. It's no different if you want to be enlightened, if you want to participate in your own life and make it amazing, not just for a moment, but constantly. I want to hold this amazing perspective. I want to see life to the full. I have no idea what I'm capable of, but I know I'm capable of being capable. And maybe that's enough right now, because the goal of expanding the capacity, the brilliance of the energy of life, I want to know what that's like. I want to know what that looks like, feels like. My little glimpses are very inspiring. Let me keep that going. Yeah, it requires effort. And that effort can sometimes feel exhausting. But don't be exhausted. Recognize that it's the only goal. And don't beat yourself up if you slip. If you get bored, it means you need to readjust your thinking. You're missing something. That's the benefit of study, and what this resource is partially for, is to give you something to fall back on. Maybe I just need to listen to a couple of podcasts while I do laundry, whatever. Something in Nichiren's words, Shakyamuni's words, you'll remember. Oh yeah, shit, I really need to get back to chanting. I need to go to my Buddha. What a wonderful thing to have in your home, ready access, the ceremony in the sky. Let me go sit with the treasure tower for a minute and remind myself, oh yeah, treasure tower, how amazing. Here it is in this little room I have over here, securely protected and honored in a Butsudan. Open up. Oh, there's enlightenment. There's enlightenment. Let me sit with Buddha. Let me actuate it. Let me invoke Buddha. I need it right now. Namo Myoho Renge. Oh, light a candle, burn an incense. Man, it feels different in here already. Oh man, there's dust. I need to clean this off. See, your life is changing. With the very things that could be obstacles, attachment, right? Attachment to a Butsudan. I want mine to be the prettiest. But if your motivation is to honor Buddha, your Buddha mind, then it's not attachment to material. It's respect. It's homage. It's remembering how vital this mind of perception is. It changes everything. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Thank you for listening. Please help expand this Sangha by liking, subscribing. If you can support this effort, buying ebooks or print books, or just little donations through PayPal, or on become a regular donor on Patreon. Those of you who are doing that, like all of you supporting this channel by participating, liking, subscribing, buying books, Gohonzon, Mandala of Gohonzon. Thank you. Thank you so much for all of us. Thank you. Keep your practice strong. Keep your health strong. It's kind of a seesaw. Practice, have health. Have health, practice. Yeah? Please take care, especially if you're in struggling regions right now. Namo Myo Renge Kyo. I feel you, and I respect you. Take care. I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.